Hello, everyone. Welcome to this evening's Facebook Live session. My name is Sonia. I'm one of the breast care nurses here at Breast Cancer Now. Shortly, I'll be joined by my colleague Vic, and together we will be discussing support over the festive period. But before we do that, just the usual housekeeping here on Facebook. So, just a reminder, this is a live session. We are on Facebook. It will also be recorded, and so it's not a confidential space. Any questions that you have throughout the session, which may be perhaps of a sensitive nature, you may prefer to give us a call on our helpline 0808 800 6000, or you can write into us via our Ask Our Nurse service at nurse@breastcancernow.org, both confidential spaces, and we will provide you with responses. Otherwise, throughout the session, please feel free to pop in any questions that you have about support over the festive period. Whether you're celebrating or not, pop in your questions. Tell us how you're coping over this festive period, any tips that you have. It would be lovely for us to share it with everyone else watching. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can this evening. Any that we don't have time, we will provide you with a written response over the next few days. So just keep an eye out in the written responses below. As always, there will be a link to the survey at the end of the session. And if you could just take out some time to complete it, that would be great. All feedback is welcome. How can we make these sessions better for you? Give us some topic suggestions for the future. And this will help us to tailor these sessions for you. And I think that's about it. So we'll welcome Vic onto the screen.
Hi, Sonia.
Hey, Vic, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good.
Thank you for joining. So, Vic, I thought perhaps we could start off with just a few sort of common themes, perhaps, of what we hear on our hotline, on our Ask Our Nurse service, on the forum
Yeah,
over this
that's
this
that's
festive
a
period.
that's a really good place to start, isn't it? And often we hear from people who have been diagnosed with breast cancer, maybe are going through treatment or have recently finished treatment, or really for other reasons, they feel this underwhelming pressure to have fun and celebrate and make it special. And you know that phrase, that perfect Christmas. And often people feel they can feel isolated from other people because they're in a different mindset, and that can be after a breast cancer treatment as well, you know, when you're getting to terms with everything that's gone on. And sometimes people can feel quite nostalgic about Christmas
Yeah,
and also worried about how they're going to cope physically if they're actually going through treatment.
absolutely.
And we hear as well, Sonia, that people sometimes have a change in perspective, that it can make them value things more, or which in turn can make it more challenging emotionally. And often, you know, the financial things about Christmas, the presents and things like
Mhm.
that, often we hear from people that they're not interested so much in that, and it's about having time together. And sometimes in the midst of breast cancer treatment, Christmas can feel silly because actually there's more important things to deal with. So, yeah, all sorts of emotions really go on at Christmas time that can make it quite challenging.
Yeah,
But I wondered, Sonia, in your experience,
yeah.
what things, you know, can you suggest that may help people cope physically with the busyness that comes with this festive period?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's kind of touching on what you've already said, Vic, in that perhaps managing your expectations, because I think or naturally with any festive period, and especially at this time of year where, we've got Christmas coming up in the new year, it's quite often the emotions that we're experiencing can be amplified. And, it's quite easy to compare yourself to others, perhaps, or what you see or read on social media. And I think firstly, it's just managing your expectations, and whether that's when you've just been diagnosed with the breast cancer, or you've just had treatment for breast cancer. It's about, I suppose, setting realistic goals as to what you perhaps can do over this festive period, and what perhaps you might not be able to do that you perhaps did last year during Christmas. And it might be helpful for some to delegate to your family and friends, have open, honest conversations with them about how you're feeling, whether that's physically or emotionally, just telling them, what perhaps you would like to do. And I think it's okay to scale back. And if perhaps you had quite a big celebration during Christmas. And if you perhaps want a smaller Christmas this year, that's okay. And equally, it's okay to not want to celebrate as perhaps as big as you did last year, and pacing yourself. So I think where I spoke about delegating roles and delegating responsibilities to others, pacing what you want to do. So perhaps picking small things over this festive period that you quite enjoy doing, and spreading it out over the coming weeks, giving yourself, listening to your body, so giving yourself that rest, asking for help. I think it can perhaps be the obvious stating that, asking for help, but sometimes it's quite difficult to do that. So asking family for help, asking friends for help, and just giving yourself that time. I think taking some time out if you need to as well. It's okay to do that. You don't have to constantly be happy or cheerful over the next few weeks. It's okay to give yourself a 10-minute, half an hour break to perhaps feel all the emotions that you are feeling, given that you've had a diagnosis or treatment, and take it from there. Don't know if there's anything else to add to that, Vic.
No, I think that's so wise. Everything that you said, it all makes sense, doesn't it? And Sonia, we hear from people that often they say, or people say, "Oh, if there's anything I can do, just ask," and that's meant from a really good place, isn't it?
Yeah.
And actually, maybe you can make a list in your head and go, "Well, actually, yeah, can you peel my potatoes or something?
Yeah.
And can I give you a basket of ironing?" So actually, that asking, you've got your list ready made, and
Exactly.
that can help because I know a
Yeah.
lot of people actually find it quite hard asking for help.
And
Yeah,
I think that's so lovely, because also quite often when you've got family or friends that are figuring out how to support you, it's these small things, getting them involved. And as you said, just getting them involved in preparing the Christmas meal, or, going out and doing the shopping for you. You're also kind of helping them as well by allowing them to support you, and giving you that time,
absolutely.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, Sonia, I think planning ahead
Yeah.
is important, isn't it? Because plan ahead. Have you got enough meds? You know, if you're taking regular pain relief, have you got enough in? Because what
Mm,
you don't want is that, oh my goodness, it's Christmas Eve, I've run out of my pain relief and the pharmacist's closed. So trying to
absolutely.
plan ahead about what actually you need. And I think, Sonia, as well, you said about honest and open conversations. It's so important because on the opposite of people wanting to help, there are some people that don't want you to do anything, you know, and they almost like wrap you up in cotton wool, which can have its equal frustrations, can't
Yes.
it? So it's about saying, look, I'm okay, I can do this, and this is what I want to do, and being clear. And sometimes people, it comes again from the warmest of places, but being
Yeah,
overprotective can actually be
absolutely.
quite frustrating as well. So it
Yeah.
is having those honest and open conversations.
Yeah. And I think finding that balance can be challenging. And so I think don't be too hard on yourself. And I think easier said than done, but we have to learn to be kind to ourselves in that it does take time. But having these conversations, it will slowly start to make new habits perhaps. And
Yeah.
yeah, as you said, just planning ahead, making small adjustments you'll find that it can make the biggest difference. So yeah,
And when we
definitely.
talk about being open and honest, Sonia, that's
Yeah.
not just one conversation, is it? It's often a conversation that needs to happen again and again to reinforce what you're feeling and thinking, and that's okay. And Sonia, you know so well, don't you, that on the helpline we've got time to talk things through. So if anyone wants to sort of say, "Oh, this is frustrating me," or "I'm feeling sad about this," then of course we've got time to be able to talk through your individual circumstances. So that might be helpful.
Thanks, Megan. I think it's a good time to mention that the helpline is open over the festive period. We are closed over the bank holiday, so on the Christmas Day and Boxing Day, but feel free to call us on the helpline. As Vic said, we have the time. You can speak to one of us, one of the nurses on the helpline, and talk through how you're feeling, and perhaps help you to plan the weeks ahead. So yeah,
Yeah.
that would be lovely.
Sonia, we had a question in earlier from Charlotte, and Charlotte just said it how it is. I don't feel like celebrating. And Charlotte, I wonder how many people are with you on that. So, what would you say to Charlotte?
Oh, hi Charlotte. Thank you for that question. And yeah, as Vic said, I think a lot of people watching will probably relate to that feeling where you simply just don't want to celebrate. And I think it's okay to feel like that. Don't put that pressure on yourself that you have to celebrate simply because everybody else around you wants to celebrate. I think it's managing not only your own expectations but others around you. So, going back to having that conversation with your loved ones, about how you're feeling. And so perhaps that will help them to adjust the sort of how they celebrate over the festive period. But, I think finding small things that you enjoy doing, Charlotte. So whether if it's not celebrating at all, just finding the small things that you currently do, or that you perhaps were doing before the diagnosis that you can incorporate into, the festive period, and that way you'll enjoy the days ahead. But I think going back to what I said, it's okay to feel sort of reflective. And again, touching upon what you said, Vic, I think coming up to the end of the year, we often do reflect on how we're feeling. And, it certainly does put things into perspective. And so it's okay to do that. It's okay to reflect, perhaps writing down how you're feeling and making goals for yourself so that, it's something that you're working toward perhaps. And again, going back to the services that we have, give us a call on the helpline, write into us, and talk to us, and it might make you feel, it may perhaps help in speaking to us, knowing that we have experience in speaking to others who've had a breast cancer diagnosis. So just, I think, reiterating that you're not alone in how you're feeling. You're not alone in, what you're experiencing over this festive period. Have a look on the forums, because you might find, as we've said, that there are other people who share a similar feeling to you. And I think just really find something that you want to do. So spend time on focusing on perhaps the things that you enjoy doing, and that will help you over this festive period.
And sometimes, Sonia, that can be something quite different that maybe is not traditionally
Mhm.
Christmas when we think of Christmas Day being inside. And I
Yeah,
know some people that have gone for a walk and that's how they've chosen to spend their day. Other people have just said, I'm just going to shut the door. I'm going to shut the door and let the day pass. And that was their choice. It's not a
yeah,
choice everyone has, but so it's okay, isn't it? And I think, Sonia, it's about that self-care, isn't it? If that's what you want to do, then that's okay, and you have to put yourself first sometimes.
absolutely. Yeah.
Sonia, we've had another question in from
Mhm.
Sheila. Now, Sheila, oh, I can relate to Sheila. Sheila's saying her emotions are all over the place. What shall I do?
But yeah, thank you, Sheila, for that question. And again, completely understandable. I think given even if you've had a breast cancer diagnosis in itself, or the treatment that comes with a diagnosis, that can be quite overwhelming. And I think, needless to say, the constant hospital appointments that one has, and the overload of information that is often given to you, that can in itself be overwhelming. And so I think, again, it's just giving yourself that time, being kind to yourself, to accept how you're feeling, and to really just allow yourself to feel the range of emotions. And I think if you need to take out some time to for yourself, do that. Always important to speak to, whether it's your loved ones or to your breast care team. And I think, given that Christmas is next week, preparing. So just giving yourself that time to speak to your breast care nurse, your treatment team, about how you're feeling, because quite often they can signpost you to local services that may be available to you over the festive period. And again, I just going back to planning and focusing on, the elements that you have some control over, because quite often I think a lot of people find that with a diagnosis and with the treatment, there is that element of loss of control, and focusing on aspects that you have the control over, and sometimes that can help you. But I think going with it goes without saying, practicing mindfulness, giving yourself that time, writing down how you're feeling, going out, as Vic mentioned, going out for a walk, having some fresh air, all of these things, and as simple and straightforward as they can be, can quite often make the biggest difference. So trying what works for you, and sometimes it's trial and error. You find
Yeah.
trying something new, and you think that that works for you, but or yeah.
Yeah. And Sonia, sometimes it's okay to name those emotions, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes I think we have an expectation of ourselves to put on a smile and grin and bear it. But actually, it's okay to say, I feel sad,
Yeah.
whatever emotion it is. And sometimes by actually accepting that you're feeling that emotion is better, because it's a bit like brushing dust under the rug, isn't it? The more you brush it, the more it sort of builds up, and then when you come to shake the rug, so to speak, the emotions are so much stronger. So and I guess, Sonia, as well, it's like finding someone that you trust, isn't it, that you can actually say. And I don't know about you, Sonia, but we often come across fixers, don't we? People that want to make it all right, and stop being sad now because your cancer's over. Yeah, but I'm actually feeling sad, and that's the emotion that you're feeling, and that's okay. And that's why I think on the helpline you can feel sad with us. We're not going to fix it, but we can listen, and that can be really helpful.
And there's
And
no right or wrong way to feel, is there? It's just,
no,
if you're feeling upset or you're sad, it's okay to feel like that, and acknowledging that and then giving yourself that time. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. Self-care, we're not always very good at it, are we?
exactly.
So Emma's written in BBC. She's just been diagnosed with breast cancer, but her surgery is not happening until after Christmas.
Okay.
The waiting so hard, and I'm imagining the worst case scenario. Oh, Emma, we feel for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I've sort of touched, Vic and I have touched upon this in the previous questions, Emma, but completely understandable to feel like that. And I think especially over the festive period where it's that extended break, so to speak, and so you are worrying, okay, well, why is there a delay, or what will I do whilst I'm waiting? And you can often think of the worst case scenarios, and I think it goes back to preparing. So I think speak to your treatment team, speak to your breast care nurse. Perhaps if there is a date in mind for your surgery, speak to your breast care nurse about how you can prepare for surgery. So what are the things that you can do over this festive period to prepare? And you may find that that will help you to focus your time on preparing as opposed to worrying as such. But I think it may be helpful to hear that your treatment team will always ensure to schedule your treatment in a timely manner. And so, they will always ensure to plan in a time sensitive manner. So, again, it might be helpful to talk through with your breast care team about your specific diagnosis, if that's worrying you, your individual risk. And I think knowing that information, again, can help you over the next few weeks, in I suppose, understanding the facts of the diagnosis, and then that can sometimes help when we're feeling quite anxious or worried in calming us down when you know the facts of it. But again, going back to what we said, try some relaxation, mindfulness. Again, a lot of people find that that helps. Giving yourself that time, so being kind to yourself, and taking the time out, giving yourself this period to sort of rest and spend time with your family and friends before you have surgery, because it could be that once you've had surgery, you need to sort of slow down the pace at which you're doing things, and it might take you a few weeks to recover. And so I think using this time to really enjoy with your friends and family. I don't know if there's anything to add to that, Vic.
Yeah, no, that all makes perfect sense, Sonia, doesn't it? And I often think people are, oh, well, we're all not just people, but we're all sometimes in a battle between our logical selves and our illogical selves. And our
Exactly.
minds are programmed, aren't they, sometimes to think the worst. And it can be
Yeah.
really, sometimes people have described it as torturous. This mind takes us off to dark places. Someone taught me once about a concept called worry time, which I've shared with a few people, and they found it really useful. So that's actually having a designated worry time. So it might be 10 o'clock in the morning, it might be 7 o'clock at night. It's quite often useful to have it before bedtime. And so if it's, I don't know, lunchtime and all these worries are coming on in your head, so you can say, okay, I can hear you, but I'm going to address you when it's worry time at 7 o'clock. And so it comes back to our previous question, doesn't it? You're actually naming the emotion. You're not dissing it. You're not saying I'm fine, because you're not feeling fine. But what you are doing is focusing on the here and now, And then in worry time, you can give it large. You can worry all you like, but just for that worry time. And some people say actually by doing that, it just helps, and it helps because worry and anxiety can rob you of today. And so by having a worry time,
Yeah.
it doesn't rob you of today. You can still enjoy the things that you're doing. It's hard, and I realize it's hard as well, but
That's a
that
lovely concept.
might help you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it might help.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And give us a call over the festive period if you need to talk it through. And again, as Vic mentioned, we've got the time. We can listen, even if it's just giving you that time to listen, so that we can hear exactly how you're feeling, and to know that you're not alone in feeling like that. I'm sure a lot of the women listening, even if you were to have a look on our forums, a lot of the women and men you'll find will share similar emotions about being diagnosed just before the festive period, Emma.
And sometimes, Sonia, just by talking about it, can offload it, can't it? It doesn't take that
Absolutely.
worry away because that worry
No.
is real and it exists.
Yeah.
But it can just help reset things, can't it? So, Emma, I hope you find that useful. And it's on a similar vein, really, that Louise had surgery 2 weeks ago. She's doing okay, and Louise is trying to feel positive,
Yeah.
but she's really frustrated when her family say the cancer's gone, so don't worry. And we hear that so much, don't we?
Too
Cancer's gone,
often.
someone we can get on with our life now. And people often describe it, or there's that wonderful psychologist Peter Harvey that describes it as a roller coaster ride, where you get on that proverbial roller coaster ride at diagnosis, and it's what's coming next. And when your
Yeah.
treatment finishes, like Louise has, you get off that ride. But it's often then, isn't it, Sonia, that you think,
Absolutely.
oh my goodness, what was that all about?
Yeah.
But that's often a time where people, again, from kindness and relief, are saying, "Oh, come on now, it's all done now. Come on, let's get back to normal." And yeah, we hear that a lot, don't we, Sonia?
Absolutely, and what is normal, especially after this experience of having had breast cancer and the subsequent treatment, and yeah, it's really difficult. I think it's just it's a common misconception, as you said, Vic. I think it's the biggest misconception that once you've had your treatment, theoretically, if you are breast cancer free, then that's it. Get back into your normal routine. You can put it behind you, but that's simply not the case. And how long it takes, one to, I suppose, adjust post treatment. It varies. For some it can take longer, for some it may not. And some may find it quite easy to kind of slip back into their routine, and others may find that they have to simply readjust what their routine looks like, what their day-to-day activities look like, which is absolutely okay. There's no right or wrong. And again, I think it just goes back to some of the points that we mentioned throughout, Vic, in that having open, honest conversations. Sometimes it could just be educating the people around us, because they may not be privy to the information that you have, or it goes without saying that they haven't had the experience that you have had, although they are supporting you. So I think it's just educating them on what happens after treatment, and what the side effects may look like, or what the long-term implications are. And it takes time. It's not something that will happen overnight. But I think acknowledging that, and giving yourself that time, to
Yes, and like you say, Sonia, even though surgery may have finished or chemotherapy may have finished, we know that the side effects may go on for some time,
yeah,
including fatigue. So it can be there's a bit of
frustrating.
longevity in there.
Yeah,
And Sonia, I
absolutely.
just want to just bring to a comment that Bev wrote. And you know how we were talking about sometimes it's just about talking, about being to offload. And Bev has just made the most beautiful comment that said, "My lifesaver was my horse, who was my listening ear." And I think, Sonia, we forget or underestimate the power of our furry friends, and
Absolutely, yeah.
just how cathartic that can be. So I just want to say, Bev, thank you so much for sharing that. It's really lovely to hear, and absolutely.
Thank you,
And
Beth.
Sonia, we've had a message in from Margaret. So Margaret is a year after successful treatment, and so she's gone for her yearly mammogram. So the first mammogram, and we know, don't we, Sonia, that that often can cause great anxiety, that first mammogram after treatment. And Margaret's been called back to have another
Okay.
mammogram on the right side, and that's the side that she had her cancer. So she's going back on Christmas Eve, so she's
Okay.
quite concerned. And that's
Yeah.
understandable that you're concerned.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think when you are told that you have to come back when you're, especially so soon, it can cause worry and concern. It's not uncommon, Margaret, to be called back. I think that's one thing to say. And I think if you are particularly concerned, give your breast care team a call and say, look, I've been recalled back for further investigations. Could you potentially tell me what the possible scenarios are? Why are you calling me back? And again, that can prepare you for when you do go back to have further imaging or further investigations. But certainly not. I think sometimes it's yeah, sometimes we're not aware that the imaging, so certainly with mammograms or MRIs, are very sensitive and they can pick up anything and everything. And given your history, so given that you have had breast cancer, it goes without saying that your team would want to absolutely, investigate anything that's picked up. But yeah, something that might help you is just giving your treatment team a call, and just having a conversation with your breast care nurse, and perhaps asking what they've picked up, what they've noted, and why you've been asked to come back. And sometimes that can help manage any worries that you have or concerns that you have about it.
And that's really because sometimes mammograms can be blurry, can't they? That can be a
Absolutely.
reason. And
Yeah.
obviously, Margaret,
Yeah.
there's been a lot of changes in your breast since the
Yeah.
last mammogram. So it
Yeah.
sounds as though your team, like Sonia said, are dotting those I's and crossing the T's to make sure. But Margaret, is an understandably, a concerning time for you. So do call us on the helpline. Again, as Sonia said, that's really good because the team will be able to say why you've been called back, which might just help
Yeah.
you at this time.
And
But
it
we hope
may
your
help.
appointment goes well.
Yeah. Sorry, Vic. I was just going to add, take somebody with you, Margaret, if you feel comfortable. Take a family member or a friend with you as well. Just having that added support sometimes, because it can just be, I think, such a clinical environment sometimes when you're going in to have your scan, aren't you, Vic? So perhaps try
Well,
that as
Sonia,
well.
I think you think you're fine, don't you? And then you
Yeah.
walk through the double doors of the hospital, and then you're suddenly no, actually no. Times you are taking it in, but you can't remember. And we hear that so much, don't we? And I know when I was a breast care nurse, I maybe knew that I gave someone that information, but they couldn't recall it for whatever reason. So it's really good to have somebody with you, isn't it? So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so as Vic said, give us a call over the helpline and we can talk through that with you as well in a bit more detail.
Yeah. So I guess really we're getting ready to close up this session, but I think really what we can say is, and hopefully what tonight has highlighted, that to plan ahead, make sure you've got enough medication, and think about your sleep pattern, keep hydrated, the
Yeah.
power of exercise, fresh air, relaxation, and sleep. And if you've lost your appetite, then maybe you want to have smaller meals, and let your host know. I think there's often at
Yeah.
Christmas, isn't it, this overwhelming, huge pile of food on your plate, which can actually be quite off-putting. So it's okay to say, and then that confidant, be it a good friend, be it a beautiful horse, a dog, or
Yes.
anything,
Yeah.
and offload to them, and also just know who is a safe ear for you, where you can just go or actually you might go, do you know, this Christmas is really beautiful, and that might happen too.
And also knowing who to contact. So I think over the festive period, if you've had treatment for breast cancer, so whether that's surgery and you have a drain in, for example, knowing who to contact should you have any issues with the drain. If you're currently having chemotherapy, ensuring that you do have the hotline number, and who to go to over the festive period, again, if you have any concerns. Because quite often I think over the festive period you'll find that treatment team, so that could be your breast care nurse, may not be around over Christmas Day and Boxing Day, and so who are the out of hours services that you will have on hand? Whether that's their numbers, or just information. So preparing yourself so that in case of any scenario over sort of the festive period, how will you, who to contact, and how you can respond in such situations. But as we said, we are available over the festive period. So our hotlines are open Monday to Friday till 4, but we are closed sort of on Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and New Year's Day, but open throughout. So whether you want to call in or write into us, feel free to do that. But yeah, as Vic said, I think be kind to yourself. Try to enjoy it as best as you can. I think whether you're celebrating or not, use this time to spend it with your loved ones, or with your friends and family and your furry pets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And Sonia, just on the opening hours, you say we're
Yes.
closed Christmas Day and Boxing Day. Also, we're closed on Saturday, the 28th, whereas normally we'd be open on a Saturday. So just so everyone's aware and not disappointed. So,
Thank you, Vic.
yeah. But I think all that remains for us is to wish you a peaceful, a happy, and a healthy Christmas and know that we're here for you. So it's good night from us.